Join us now. Again, Emerging Prairie made him the Entrepreneurial Leader of the Year this past year. Brady Nash, he's the CEO of BNG Holdings, and he joins us live in studios. We're coming to you live from the PetroServe USA studio. I want to say thank you again to Red Wing Shoes as well for sponsoring our inbox. If you've got any questions for Brady, because now you've got an opportunity, folks, to just garner wisdom from a person who's been around business now for a long, long time. So you can go to our live streams. You can go to facebook.com/Chris Berg Show, ask questions there, or email us at our Red Wing Shoes studio inbox at studio@flagfamily.com. Again, studio@flagfamily.com. Brady, first off, thanks so much for getting us some time.
Yep.
Congratulations on being the Entrepreneurial Leader of the Year, which is fantastic.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You and I said this just off camera. We said, hey, most of us, we think, know you from your time and the things you do in our community, but there's obviously a lot of people that may not. So let's just start from your story. What got you into business? What was the impetus?
Yeah, yeah. So, starting out, I was technically born in Winnipeg, but I've never lived in Canada. Lived in North Dakota my whole life. Parents were teachers and coaches in North Dakota, so I moved all around these small towns from Tower City to Argusville to Castleton, third, fourth, fifth grade, to then Lidgerwood, where my dad was a history teacher and coach there. My mom, subbed a little bit for English and art, ed, stuff like that. And then, went to NDSU in 2004. But you talk about how you became an entrepreneur. It was kind of, I like to say, by accident, but God's plan. Because I wanted to be a professional athlete. I think like a lot of kids growing up, and when you live in North Dakota Class B, I got to play all 5 sports, not because I was so amazing, but because you got a pulse, you get to play. I was a good athlete, not a great athlete. When you realize that you're good, but you're not that good, what do you want to do? I had no idea, and so my parents encouraged me to go into the medical field because there's always going to be jobs there, in nursing. And so my wife, who is a nurse, I said, yeah, I was going to be a nurse in nursing school. She's like, Brady, you were there for 1 semester. You took some generals. You were not in nursing school. I'm like, correct. I probably wasn't even smart enough to get into nursing school. So thankfully, I got recruited for a technology network marketing company that was focused on technology my freshman year. Found out that I really liked it. I kind of got the entrepreneur bug, learned about residual, recurring revenue, leverage. All of a sudden, my mind really got blown up into thinking bigger, something that I never really thought about before. Because going in, I wasn't interested in business or in sales. So that's why I've got a vlog series I did, I don't know, maybe a dozen episodes around just entrepreneurship. So it's called The Accidental Entrepreneur. If you go to YouTube, you'll find a series there about just some different topics I wanted to talk about. It wasn't supposed to be a show like this. I'm just like, I want to talk if there's something valuable to talk about. Otherwise, that's it, And so, dropped out of NDSU 2004, 2005. And then got into payment processing September of 2005. Found a way to help businesses reduce costs around taking payments. And then we kept kind of innovating around how do you provide more value? How do you create value on a commodity? And so we got into technology 2010. We acquired a friend of ours company, had a point of sale company, and we worked with him to make a transition plan. And that just opened up a whole nother can of worms around solving problems of trying to get paid by people that, checks in the mail, didn't get the invoice, can you resend it? And that turned into us developing an online bill payment software that kind of took us global, all across North America, mostly. So we're one of the largest payment processors for technology companies in the country. And again, just solving a problem that we had and realized everyone had it. And they just kept iterating into working with entrepreneurs and what are the pain points and how can you solve these problems and things that haven't been solved or, aren't solved well. And so that got us into web development and marketing and then software development. And just, I think the reason we were able to do that is we're a bunch of, we talk about Midwest values, but, people that really care. And we just kept seeing problems and we kept just trying to solve different problems. And we built such good relationships with our customers. They were asking us to solve problems.
Can we speak to that for a moment? Because boy, just so people know, like Brady, I didn't talk about any of this, and he is talking my language right now. Because also off the air, I asked him, I said, "What's the single most important thing or attribute you would say a good entrepreneur, a good business owner needs?" And he talked about, "Hey, Chris, vision's one thing, but execution is another." I would even take it a step further because I think and correct me if I'm wrong, Brady, this is your 17 years of experience, but you get a lot of people out there that go, this is a great business idea. This is going to, and what you've been saying is, Chris, how do I solve problems? What are their pain points? How do
Yeah.
I add value? I think if people can start to walk around the world going, how do I solve problems? The business kind of, I don't want to say creates
Yeah.
itself, but creates itself. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it's what's the low hanging fruit, and some people would say is it opportunistic. Yeah, I mean, it's like what's out there. If something's working, I don't want to get in the space just for the sake of doing it. It was what are people frustrated with? What's the problem? Who's the competition? Are they really doing a good job, or are they not? Why aren't they? Is it something that's easy to fix? And so, what I've realized is the most expensive part of our lives is our time. It's Chris, it's what you and I are doing now. It's what we've done over the last couple of years is building relationships. And so that's finite. You can't just get more of that, right? And so I've realized once you spend the time building a relationship and you build trust, you go through some stuff, maybe adversity and how you stand up, where you start building trust and rapport with someone, how many different ways can you bring value to that relationship? And inside of the business, we go B to B. I mean, it's endless. It's endless. I mean, we got involved in an insurance company, not because I'm an insurance expert, but because I realized it's a relationship play. You got to have product expertise for sure. So I'm like, I'm going to go find someone I trust that has product expertise. But other than that, it's trust. It's a relationship. You want to know that someone's representing them well, they have the right coverage, that they're getting super competitive pricing, they're going to be responsive. Other than that, it's a commodity. And, payments has gotten more advanced because of the technology around it. But when it was just the bill, that was it. Who's the lowest rate? So instead of racing to the bottom, we had to find ways of bringing value. And what's shocking is in so many industries, the bar is set so friggin' low. Like, seriously, like answering your phone is like, holy cow, you're amazing. Responding to a text or an email, like the bars were set so low. Like, I'm proud of what we did, but it's like, I guess I just grew up like being responsible. People had my cell phone number. I answered the phone. They could call me at night. Like, and I think that's part of the entrepreneur, the people that are successful is the mindset of whatever it takes. It's not a, hey, it's 5 o'clock. It's not like, that's just not the reality for most people. Not especially not in the early days. Now I can afford to pay people to take a lot of those after hour calls, and I'm not the first line. And so it's unique that it's coming to me because I set it up. But for a long time, that wasn't the case. I was always on. What's the saying? Entrepreneurs are people that will not work 40 hours a week for someone else, and so they can work 80 to 100 hours a week for themselves.
And hope they get a paycheck.
Yeah, and hope they get a paycheck, and you can want it, you can work hard, you can have all the best intentions in the world, and you can still not get paid. You can still fail. And you did nothing wrong. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that. So that's why I believe entrepreneurship is the lifeblood, of our nation. It's people that are willing to take those risks and create jobs without any guarantee or certainty that it's going to work out. And so for the last 17 years, I've gotten to work with entrepreneurs from small startups to mom and pop business owners to Fortune 500 to Fortune 100 companies. So I tell people, and generally it's not me trying to be humble, is I'm not that smart. I'm super ambitious and I learn. But when you're in it every single day, for 17 years, I'm talking to business owners. You just pick up on stuff by default. I mean, I could be the slowest learner in the world, but when you're in it every single day, you eventually figure this stuff out. So, in your guts, created by experience. So you start feeling trends and seeing trends of what people did right, what they did wrong. Why do certain businesses stop growing? Like, where's the friction? Who are the people that are successful and happy? Who are the ones that made money, had success, but they're miserable? And like, why? And it's not one answer to everything, but you start seeing trends in these things. And so you learn a lot just being exposed to it. Besides, going to a lot of big conferences and listening to, these speakers that get paid 500 grand to come and speak, to the audiobooks. It's just been full submersion for me for 17 years. And I'm very mindful of what I put in my brain. I don't have a lot of time. And so one of the things that I've talked a lot about is stacking the deck in your favor. Who you hang around, what you watch, what you read, what is it doing for you? Don't get me wrong, it's fun to like check out and just do something for entertainment, but that's value. That's fine. But I tell our kids, be careful what you put in your mind. You can watch scary movies and all of a sudden now you're paranoid and you're scared of things. You can put things that empower you and motivate you or things that make you sad. Music's the same way. It's a funny thing how you can put music and make you angry or sad, or it's like, why, when you lift out, there's certain music that motivates you. And so I'm like, be purposeful, be intentional. Who are you around? Are they people that pick you up or people that want to complain and blame other people versus you taking responsibility? And so it's amazing for me. I call it stacking the deck. Was I wanted to be mindful of who I put around me, who I put around my family, and then it was what if I built a company where I built it with amazing people, people that made me better, and by doing that, people that came into our office were around better people, right? Because my time's going to be finite. So what if I stack the deck in their favor and they met some of the best people they've ever met in their lives inside of that office building? What if I created an environment where they were supported? There's a unified vision, which was my job to create, but then I gave them the resources, asked them what they needed, and I got the heck out of their way. Like, what would happen? If they were in an environment they didn't have to watch their back, they didn't have to worry about being screwed over by corporate America, right? Like what would happen? And so part of BNG in that story was this. I believe we're a real life case study of what happens when you do those things. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of hard work, and we innovated, but from a culture standpoint, understanding it's not just things; it's an environment of how you treat each other, how you go to war together. You know how we deal with problems and how we support each other. And it's the I believe when you earn that through time and experience, people run through walls. You don't have to throw them through walls. And, I feel our company and how we've gotten this far was really building an environment of like-minded people like that. And it's hard, Chris, though. Like, once it's 17 years, we've grown from, three college dropouts to, over 170, 180 people. Like, it's changed. I've had to adapt what I meant to the business. Was I selling? Was I frontline? Was I doing support? Now I'm training people. How do I work myself constantly out of a job? I mean, I stayed out of the media for many years on purpose because I had a chip on my shoulder. When you drop out of school and everyone says you're crazy, I'm like, I don't need someone patting me on the back. I don't need someone giving me an award. Like, I know what I'm doing. Stay the heck out of my way, and I don't need someone else validating. Like, it for a long time, I hit it well, but I was angry. I was. It was
You're like Michael Jordan.
Yeah, it was like I found ways to create motivation, and it would typically came from I'm going to prove people wrong and just watch because I'm going to outwork everyone, right? And it's changed over the years. I've got kids, and man, ever since having kids, I tell you what, I would never cry during movies. Now things like emotionally hit me. I don't know what happened. It's like I had the kid. My wife's the one that had to do all the work, so it's been quite the journey being someone that's tried to lead by example. It's not coming from a place of depression from I'm not good enough. It's coming from a place of I'm constantly trying to be better. Can I be a better husband? Yeah, I know I can. No, I don't. I think I'm a good husband. I think my wife would say I am, thankfully. But I can be better. Am I a good dad? I think I'm a really good dad. But you know what? I can be better. I think I've been a really good CEO, but you know what? I've made mistakes and I can be better. I can be a better friend. I can take care of myself better. So it's coming from a place of how do I constantly have the mindset of trying to grow, how to improve. And I feel I'm going to have that, and people should have that till the day you die. It's not, again, coming from a place of I'm not good enough. It's coming from a place of I'm going to keep trying to improve and move that envelope as much as I can, and never being complacent.
If you're just joining us, Brady Nash, the CEO of BNG Holdings, he won the award, the Entrepreneurial Leader of the Year. There's so much I want to talk to you about, but you're also very humble. There's a particular question I want to get to, but just so people can appreciate, you said you went from 3 to 180 people. You went from $0 in revenue to where you at today.
Oh gosh, this year you count all of the entities that we're in. The main one was probably 16, probably close to 30 million if I
Yeah.
count the stuff we're invested in.
Wow.
And the reason I say it's changing is we've made a lot of investments recently. So I'm like, depends on how you want to categorize
So
this.
here's my question, because I want to come back and we're going to talk about success and happiness and how, you've got 5 kids, a wife, a great family. And when you and I spoke, I think it was last week, and you said something to me and I go, that's a book. Like, that's an entire brand. Do you remember what you said to me?
Talking about probably achievement and fulfillment, or
No.
which one?
I kind of started the show with it in a roundabout way today. And it was because of you sitting in that chair that I wanted to communicate that way. The man, you blew me away. So he and I were chatting, and I'm going to drop this, and then I want you to talk about the importance of it. So we were sitting there having this great conversation. Again, I think it was last week. And he goes, Chris, one of the greatest things that I think I understand and recognize it's built a great culture in our company is I do what
Oh,
I
the
call
unexpected compliment you're talking
the
about.
unexpected thank
Yeah,
you. And
thank
I
you.
was like,
Yeah, yeah,
that was
that's what it
fantastic.
was. Yeah, yeah. It's talking about culture and understanding how people are motivated and people need and want to feel valued. We all do, whether it's in our relationships. There's nothing you do where all of a sudden, hey, I, took care of my wife. I gave her some kids and a nice home, and the bills are covered. And we're good. It's a constant, it's a constant reminder. And listen, dealing with culture is the same thing. It doesn't matter how nice of a building I book. It doesn't. I built. It doesn't matter that in the past we had a good Halloween party or Christmas party or I gave bonuses. It is an everyday thing of how you show up, how you communicate. Do people believe in what you stand for? Do they actually feel valued? And if you make it about money, then it's only going to be about money. And that's a problem. So when people lose people to uh, someone else is paying more or someone's doing it, it's because that's what you've made it about. And so I can tell you, and I'm proud of our team, is over 17 years, we built an organization it's not just about how big we grow, how much money we make. It's about how we make money, how we value our team members, how we value our customers, how we value community. It matters because yes, we need to make money. A buddy of mine gave me the line that blood or profit is like your blood. You need it to live, but it's not the reason you live. And so, yes, in business, we got to make money. We got to have profits. We're not going to be around, but it's not the reason, sole reason, not for me. And I feel people connect with that. And so when I have people that have bought into that, that have offers for maybe a little bit more money, it's like, this isn't it. And I believe and for those of you that I would say, and I can make a compelling case on almost anything, but let's just pretend it's about money. Let's just pretend it's like, I don't care about people, I don't care about values, which I think is wrong. But let's just pretend it is. There's value in taking care of people, retention, having people feel valued of how hard they work. And I believe if you, put 20 cents of the dollar into little things, kids, family, what the parties you do, and a lot of companies try to cut this stuff out. All of a sudden now, that's all it's about. For example, if I were to, let's just say, go to 100 employees, and I were to say, would you want a $500 bonus, or do you want like an epic like Christmas party? We're gonna have a band, we're gonna have some prizes, we're gonna have like great food, like a really epic night. There's probably 80% of them that are going to be like, "Hey, we'll take the money," because that $500, and it's not coming from a bad place. It's coming from a place of like, "Hey, we've got bills to pay. We got some stuff we'd want to do." It's coming from a good place, and it's going to get absorbed. 20% of people maybe in the means is like, the $500 doesn't mean much to me. Just let's do the party. My point is though, as soon as you start doing pay raises or you do that, it gets washed out inside of a month. Where now it's expected. It's I don't want to say entitlement, but it's like, yeah, it's part of my job. When you do those little things that create connection and memories, it means so much more. So I'm not saying you don't pay people well. I'm saying you need to think about investing into culture purposefully because it matters. You were
And
talking about birthday cards for kids. You're talking about you do something for someone kids, it means more. I mean, I authentically care about people. So it's weird, like not trying to tell people like to fake this, but like the point is everyone wants to feel valued. No one wants to just be a number.
exactly. I'm gonna sell this now. Can we have you back again? Because there's so much I want to talk about. We've got a limited amount of time. We got to go to break. But the one thing I will share with our audience, if you're not aware of this, is the great thing that I really appreciate and respect about Brady is he puts his money where his mouth is. I mean, if you go by his building, he's got slides inside of his building. There's a gym. You can go inside. There's like a cafe. I wouldn't call it a restaurant, but I mean, there's all these goodies you can grab. And so I love the fact that you're not just talking about it, you're doing it. All right, stay with us. When we come back, we're going to have Brady talk and share. Can you imagine having 5 kids, a great relationship? And oh, by the way, you're running a $30 million business. He talked about the patterns of people that are successful and happy and the patterns of people that are successful and miserable. We all know both. We'll hear from Brady what he has to say about that. I want to remind you, you can email us. It's studio@flagfamily.com. Again, studio@flagfamily.com. Thank you to Red Wing Shoes. If you are someone that's in a blue collar job, manufacturing, you're on your feet all day, and you get home at night and your feet are killing you, you need to go to Red Wing Shoes. It's 3003 Main Avenue in Fargo. Again, 3003 Main Avenue in Fargo. Talk to Teresa. They custom fit these boots, the shoes for you. They're perfect for a blue collar worker to go out, have some comfort, but also protect your feet. Stick around, much more coming up right after this. One of the things that we talk about here on the show is financial freedom and doing it while you are happy. So I want you to just think for a moment. You're running a business, $30 million in revenue. You got 180 employees. You're married. You've got 5 kids. That is a lot to manage, let alone do it well, and do it while you're happy. One person that is doing that successfully is Brady Nash, CEO of BNG Holdings. He joins us here live in studio. So let's just start there. I mean, I think for many, at least for me, I hear that and I go, okay, I'm going to fail at that. Like, how do you even do it?
Chris, being married and having a bunch of young kids and being an entrepreneur are very similar. There's chaos. There's always something I should be doing that I'm not doing. There's a lot of laughing and crying, typically at the same time. you know, no, it's I love being a dad. Honestly, more than anything, I love being in business. There's not a lot of time for anything else between it's my work and my family. I don't sleep much. I probably should sleep more. Every time I bring this up, it's true. People try to coach me on why I should be sleeping more. I'm like, I know. It's just not my priority right now. Some point I'll start doing that. But yeah, it's fun. Having the 5 kids. My oldest is 11. My youngest is 3. So they're 11, 9, 7, 5, and 3. 4 girls, 1 boy. And my boy is the second oldest. And it's a blast. Now I've worked my whole life to become like an unpaid Uber chauffeur driver around, between practices and games, but I love it. I do everything I can to get to it, and people are like, "Well, geez, you just have someone else take them." I'm like, "I know I can. It's not that I can't afford to. It's like I actually want to be at their stuff if I can. So I always try to figure out a way to go to their stuff. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I've got to email and I'm texting, but I try to watch and be present, whenever I can.
And a
So
lot of that comes from your dad being there for you, yes?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I just grew up. We didn't have, much money in North Dakota at the time. I don't know if they still are, but North Dakota's like 50th in the nation in teachers' pay, and I think Lidgerwood at the time was like lowest paying school district in the state. I'm like, congratulations, Dad! You literally picked the worst place in the entire country to teach. But no, it's yeah, we didn't have much, but a lot of the foundation of who I am came from my dad always giving whatever we had to help others. My dad cared so much about his athletes and his students. Even though we didn't have the money, if you were his track athlete and you didn't have track shoes, he was going to go buy you track shoes, figure out a way because he wanted you to have the best chance to compete. And so I think giving without any expectation of something coming back for you or what's in it for me definitely came up from just how I was raised, and so for me, helping entrepreneurs, risk takers, it's just like I want to help people. I love Disney movies. I love people, going that have dealt with adversity, that dealt with all the challenges and rose, that didn't use it as an excuse. They used it as a fuel, not a crutch, and that's a lot of the stuff, going back to the family, Chris, that I'm trying to instill in my kids and some of the fears. And maybe we'll talk about this maybe on a future segment, talking about, art of fulfillment and science of achievement and understanding there's a difference between those two, right? Achieving something versus being fulfilled. But my oldest, as an example, is uniquely gifted. And what I mean by that is it's very rare to have someone that's as teachable and coachable that is so focused.
Mm.
I mean, she's a kid that at a young age I taught how to set goals, and she sets her goals and writes them down, and she does them. She's gets up at 6 in the morning every day and programs for an hour. We're going to be getting her into web probably next month. She'll be graduating, JavaScript. Next year maybe payment applications. We did a jump soul program and like she loves to work. She's not afraid of putting in the time. In fact, I've had to reel her back because she's so hard on wanting to drive and do what's right. She's just like the firstborn, like the extra mother hen of, being an example for the others and helping out. Like that's exactly what she is. And I told her that it's not about her being a programmer. It's not about her. She's a big basketball player. She's a really talented basketball player, and she works probably a couple hours every day at it. She loves it. I had to explain to her, I'm like, Sky, it's not about you being a programmer or a basketball player. These are skills and qualities that teach you about life. Learning how to work for something. Even though you work really hard, you might lose. Even though you work really hard, you can get hurt, things you can't control. I'm like, Sky, you're going to lose a basketball game because the ref makes a bad call. Sky, you're going to win a basketball game because the ref makes a call in your favor. Your job is to prepare so well that one or two calls doesn't decide a basketball game. You're going to have teammates that pick you up. You'll have teammates that let you down. Isn't that life? And so I'm like, that's what I want you to get out of this. Whether you want to go and play in high school, you want to play college, or whatever that is, I mean, that's great. Whatever you want to do, that's up to you. I just want you to know that's the skill I'm teaching you, because at that age, they're not going to know. They might know, and they might happen. I think my wife knew at like age 6, she wanted to be a nurse, and then she ended up doing it. But I think it's rare. And I fear I don't want to put too much pressure on her where she feels she has to do something or she lets me down. So I tell her I want her to learn the concepts. I wanted her to learn how to work and have grit. But I'm like, that's it. If something changes, I'll follow you, whatever you want to do. You want to go into art, you want to play volleyball, you want to be a mom, whatever it is, just own it.
So we've got about 90 seconds. And I think one of the things is I've got two things I want to ask you. We're going to bring you back in a future show. I want to find out from you biggest challenge you've had and how did you overcome it? But now I think one of the things that's so important is when people can really get in their heart that the journey is the happiness.
Yes.
So
It's not the destination. Absolutely.
60
Embrace the grind.
seconds. Oh, thank you. Just your tip on you've seen these patterns of success and happiness, success and misery. Talk a little bit about the
Yeah.
journey is the
Yeah.
happiness.
This is going to have to be another segment, but
Okay.
it's defining. It's people need to learn to ask themselves questions. Imagine your dream life. Imagine, snap your fingers. Imagine you actually got it. Are you happy? Why or why not? Is it the money? Okay, but what does the money do? What's the home? Okay, so a big house makes you happy. Well, no, what is it? Is it freedom? What are you going to do with that freedom? Like really defining in detail what your day looks like. When do you wake up? When do you go to bed? Who do you hang out with? Really understanding that dream is going to be the why for you to deal with some difficult stuff if you have big dreams and goals.
Oh, so much. One last thing, just because I want to plant this seed, Brady, and we'll talk about this. So the other thing that really jumped out to me when you and I spoke last time, because you don't have to work. Let's be honest. You could sit on a beach every day
Yeah.
and you'd be fine. And I asked you why, what gets you out of bed every day? Again, 60 seconds. You told me what the other night?
This goes going into my Christian faith of I believe God gave us all different talents and skills, and even though I know there's nothing I need to do to get to heaven, like that price has been paid right through Jesus Christ. I feel that He's blessed me with these talents and skills, and if I don't need the money, if I don't need those resources, I should be using my talents and skills to help others. And so the idea of giving up or sitting back on the beach, that was gone a long time ago.
And what I love that you told me, you said, Chris, because when I go through the pearly gates of heaven, I want to look Jesus in the eyes and really have him look at me and say, hey, you did everything you could with the talents I gave you, which I just think was beautiful. It was like John Wooden asked. So congratulations on all your success, man. We look forward to having you back. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Again, Brady Nash, Entrepreneurial Leader of the Year. He won that award thanks to Emerge in Prairie. He's the CEO of BNG Holdings. And thank God he will be back